Schtick Show.
How's it, everybody? We is the Joy Schtick Show. You know, your three favorite friends from Hawaii have gathered once again to talk story about the latest things we've read, watched, or played. We'll share our shtick with you, so mahalos for sticking around. If you fancy what you hear, please like and subscribe on the platform you frequent. It super helps us out. And I'm your co-host, Drake. And that's Scott.
How's it?
And you'll notice again, our bestie, T-Dog is out and about because he has some things to take care of. So we are holding it down until he can ground and pound.
Yeah.
So we've got some things to talk about today. We watched some stuff. We've read some stuff. We will get into the Bottoms trailer that just dropped. It's getting a lot of views, I assume, just because it is kind of funny. We'll talk about it. Another Loki season 2 trailer just dropped. It's a little bit newer, a little bit more jazzy. And then we'll get into the reviews of One Piece. I know we talked about it a little bit before, but I finally got to watch it, so we can get into that. We also were able to watch You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah and The Portable Door, which are two surprising things we'll get into. And obviously episode 4 of Ahsoka. So, to start it off, let's just jump into these two trailers so we can get to the nitty gritty. But let's smash them up. What did you think about both trailers? How do they compare? How does it excite you or not excite you? What from both are you looking forward to the most? Bottoms and Loki Season 2.
Yeah, Loki season 2, I'm looking forward to more Loki. Like, I feel like personally for me, it was short and sweet. They didn't like stay too long on like a certain scene. It was kind of like jumpy all over the place. Enough for my ADD brain to be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's a cool shot. Oh, that. I'm just excited for more. It wasn't too spoilery. Maybe not enough. I don't know. I know like I didn't really know what was going on, but I just trusting that it's going to be good because I liked the first season. So looking forward to that. And then Bottoms looks hilarious. I just watched the trailer. And it gives me like kind of super bad vibes ish. Yeah. Two friends and they're just in high school trying to get their high school goals. Two ladies just trying to get girlfriends or just get laid by other ladies. And it's just like hilarious. Like the duo they have is just, it's fun. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, the dialogue in Bottoms was very hilarious. Like definitely now. I think when we talked before about, or just in general, like comedy and writing as a whole, how much more evolved it's gotten. I think it's far more diverse comedically. I'm looking forward to seeing how these act, because I think they're a little bit of lesser known actors, younger actors, so we could get to kind of see them flourish, much like how Superbad did for both Emma Stone and Jonah Hill and Michael Cera. Who else was in that movie? Other people?
No, what was it? It was Jonah Hill. Was it Jonah Hill and who?
Michael Cera? Wasn't
Michael
it?
Cera?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Gosh, I think so.
And so I mean, with the,
I don't really remember it.
Yeah, I mean, cult classic, obviously, super awesome. I think this is in that similar vein of funny situations with super hilarious dialogue that we don't necessarily expect. And I'm super looking forward to it. It's probably one of the, I don't want to say the only comedies coming out, but for me, the most noticeable one.
Yeah, this feels like just like a straight comedy. That's why. Like just jokes you're expecting to get, and
like a this is the end type thing too, because that was a killer cast with a bunch of weight in terms of comedy. And Loki too, to your point, like not too much, not too little, kind of confusing in terms of like, okay, where are we going with this? But also at the same time, you're like, oh, okay, you're showing me things that I would like to see, and also things that I'm looking forward to. For me personally, I think I'm not like the most excited to see it, but it's also because, to your point, like you said earlier, you're kind of expecting it to be good because it's Loki. Loki did so well in the first season of what it brought. And for them to lose that momentum would seem very strange, especially because now the MCU is kind of refocusing itself. And Loki has kind of been one of the most stable series from my point of view. But I think if you haven't watched those trailers, definitely watch them. Let us know what you think in the comments, as well as when you like and subscribe. Heyo. Shameless plug there. Mm-hmm. But something that we can both agree on is that live action One Piece is doing pretty well. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of hashtags, a lot of I'm just missing my straw hat type situation, lots of ocean views on a lot of Instagram posts kind of sharing this. Are you getting that similar experience where you're seeing a lot more people involved in One Piece when they may or may not have been based on this live action series?
Yeah, actually. So I know when it was first announced, we got pictures of the set and whatnot, and that looked good. And I just had really big doubts. I was like, I'll check it out. I think the set's going to look cool, but I doubt it's going to do well. Just because a lot of other live action animes kind of let me down. But I was actually really surprised with this one. And I am seeing a lot of comments, like mainly all positive comments, even ones that like may be negative, like, oh, I kind of wish they did this. It'd be follow up with but they nailed this and this and this. So it's cool to see One Piece doing so well and seeing like people taking interest now and wanting to go and like maybe read the manga or watch the anime and whatnot. Because it's like one of those animes that is like so good, but it's so daunting. Like it's over 1,000 something episodes.
Yeah.
But these first 8 episodes, they sum up basically like 100 chapters of the manga. What's good about it too is like they sum it up well. He gets most of his crew in this like first 100 chapters, I guess, like a lot of the main OGs. So they do a good job with that. The casting was great. I feel like everyone did a good job. Even the guy who plays Luffy. I think I'm gonna.
I'll tell you one of my qualms in a bit.
Oh, okay. I feel like Luffy himself is like just really hard to like do live action. He's one of those guys. I was like, that was probably like the one thing I was like, I don't know how the frick they're gonna do Luffy because he's like really cartoony and he's a rubber man, so he like stretches his face out a lot and stuff, and like that's a lot of the physical comedy comes from Luffy doing stuff. But I do have to say this guy, Inaki Godoy, I believe his name is. He does a really good job of like embodying the like all that heart that Luffy has.
Yes, agree.
He's very like you believe him when he's backing someone, when he's like lifting them up, like you can do this. Yeah.
The costume designer is great as well too.
Costume designer is great, and I like that they incorporated, like, of course, in the manga, like, and I guess any manga, you find that
same clothes
characters wear the same clothes every fucking day, which I guess makes sense because they're pirates. But in this is cool because there were certain clothes they wore that were like close to what they would wear, and it's kind of they change outfits, but it was still really close to like their style. So they freaking nailed that, and I really like that. All the characters were like of like different ethnicities, which was cool. When you read it, you kind of do expect that, but at the same time, like everything's drawn in a like Japanese anime style, so it would be easy to understand like they were all Japanese or something. But
just different tans.
But man, it's like there's so much that they did right with this.
Agree.
Oh, and a lot of the live action stuff kind of gave me like Umbrella Academy vibes, like from taking the comic to real life. It was similar to that. Like Umbrella Academy is kind of a goofy comic too, and like the way they were kind of, to keep it within budget and like make it work. They did a good job with this as well. Granted, they put a lot of money into it, and when Luffy does his stretching and stuff, that stuff looks awesome. Yeah, but they were able to do a lot of practical stuff, like the physical fighting and whatnot. Like the choreography was great in this.
Yeah.
All the sword fighting and stuff, and like the baton or the bow staff fighting and stuff that Nami does. The flow was like real quick. Like I assumed it would be more CW, like like, but it was on par to what I was, I guess, hoping it'd be. And it was cool to hear that the guy who plays Sanji wanted to do his own stunts or his own kicks. So he learned how to do these kicks. I think he was doing Taekwondo, started 2 hours a day and then was I got to learn more. So all the kicks you see in it are him learn how to do it and then did it. So props to him because that's insane. But I mean I could go on and on. But what do you think about One Piece?
I got three things. One is not, okay. So I definitely enjoyed the casting. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. Mm-hmm. I was one of those people who was like, oh man, you want me to read One Piece? You want me to start at the beginning? And then I tried to watch the first episode because I was like, I watched the first episode of live action. And I was like, ooh, the anime is just it's hard to watch because it's so older, right? And so, dated, and then having the introduction in the live action, you're like, this is kind of way better than watching this art style that is antiquated. Mm-hmm. Not to say that the story isn't there, but like you said, I think maybe reading the manga in the beginning would be better for me moving forward. However, I think based off of what I've seen in what I've read on read up on One Piece, doing those deep dives on those direct wiki pages, watching some clips and things of the such to help supplement. The casting is perfect. I think Luffy does a really great job. This Godoy person. The one thing that kind of threw me off is when he's a kid, he's half black, and then when he's an adult, he's has a Spanish accent. That kind of threw me. It's not a big deal. They still both did a good job. I'm just saying, I know it was noticeable for me. Yeah, and for sure. In terms of Zoro, I think Zoro was a pretty good casting. In terms of how this person's demeanor is. I do like Anami. I think historically, in terms of female Asian characters, very voluptuous and fanfare, right? And I think this is a very good medium. This person is not only good at acting, good at playing her role, but kind of plays the part, because we do know a lot of anime, a lot of the fanfare, a lot of the females have kind of more of a Caucasian complexion and also facial features to an extent as it pertains to. But I thought all of that was great. I think the one thing that One Piece does the best, aside from telling the story and doing anime live action, which no other really thing has done well. I mean, Rurouni Kenshin was kind of, even though that's kind of easier. They tried to do Avatar. That was kind of, maybe the new one is going to be better.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think as a Bleach fan, if they could darken it up in terms of not only the tone, but the violence that they could do, I could see a Bleach happening and it could actually make sense and be
for sure.
Live action. It doesn't necessarily have to be Thousand Year Blood Arc. It doesn't have to be the inception of Ichigo, but I think there is room for that to live in that area, especially because One Piece is a Shonen Jump type situation as well. I will start getting into One Piece more just because of this. And I hope that does the same for the rest of the people who are watching it, because it is getting a lot of views. And it's kind of hard to dislike it. I mean, yeah, for sure. One Piece, for sure. When I first started, it was really daunting. I had a friend that was like, you got to get into it. It's really good. It's all right. And I started reading it. Like I was telling you, it's easier. You can get through it a lot quicker, and the art is good, right? So it's better than if you go back and watch the first episodes of the anime, it's kind of like Dragon Ball art. Yes.
It's dated. It's you could do it, but it's easier to just watch it, and then the art does get better over time when it catches up to I guess whenever all the animes were getting better with art wise. That's when you can jump in and watch it. But I feel like it this show nailed a lot of even the small things in each character. I guess you get more of it later as it goes on, but even Zoro, when he found Luffy, when he was riding on that big area with the trees and whatnot, and then he was like, oh, you came, and he's like, actually I was trying to go this other way. Like he just accidentally stumbled upon him. Like it's very Zoro. Like he has a horrible sense of direction, but he's always serious. So like he'll like confidently go the wrong way until you tell him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." Like, and he does like so. A lot of these characters like really embrace like or a lot of these actors really embrace the character. Like even Usopp, I feel like hopefully if they do another season, he could lean more into the exaggerating. I guess it comes down to the writing, but it is funny like that he exaggerates, he lies all the time, he tells tall tales, and it's even funnier when certain crew members eventually like start to naively just believe him, even though they see him in fights and he's like not the greatest, but he's like, oh yeah, I took on 1,000 guys one time, and they're like, what, really? Like, and it's like just part of the comedy. But yeah, I really hope they get like another season. It's cool. Like they hint at it. Like I won't spoil it for you, but it ends in a way where they're hinting at like the next part of the story, and then you're introducing like newer characters. And what's cool about this show is like if you're a fan of like DC or Marvel, whatnot, it has that like X-Men element with the powers. They do like. People have really cool powers, and it's like as the manga and anime go on, like you get introduced with like to new people with new powers, and that always keeps it. That's like another level of it keeping it interesting. But it's cool. And the one thing I wanted was for people to watch this and be like, I'll give One Piece a shot, and it seems like that's what it's doing. So that's cool, man.
The one thing I would say that they, for me, kind of helped turn the tide was how they got you to like care about the characters, and not only care about the characters, but like care about the group being together as a group. Yes, I was so invested in like them growing together. That kind of amazed me. I feel like not a lot of things do that really well. I mean, even in like epics like Avatar, like they went through the whole stories of all these people, and like kind of at the end, I'm like still didn't really care too much. And Avatar's a huge, grossing movie, and I feel like with this, it just felt more to me. I don't know, very strange. Yeah, they definitely did a good job. Just watching the live action, you were able to get that. Like, they nailed that, because throughout the manga, there are definitely moments like the characters pretty much show love for each other in certain ways, whether they're like sacrificing something about themselves for someone, or like the care they have for each other is like really great. It is like watching like this family. There's moments where you're like really sad. There's moments where you're like super hyped for them. This manga does a really good job of like keeping you like super invested in all the characters. Like Oda does a really good job of juggling all the characters, making them all have time to shine and have like multiple stories going on. Cause there's times where like in certain arcs, like they'll split up, and he does a good job of like checking in with them and, keeping it going and having you interested in like looking forward to them when they meet up and all that. But, it's so good. I'm just so good. Glad it did well, because it's so good. We hope that our synopsis makes you want to go watch it, because we definitely want to invite it to our bat mitzvah. Yes. Seamless transition. This was a Adam Sandler movie, and we do know that Adam Sandler likes to travel to a destination, film his film, wear what he wants to wear. He's Adam Sandler. But this one, he brings his daughters, he brings his wife, he brings his some of his other confidants, people he works with. What was the first 10 minutes of the show or of the movie? What did you think? And then how did you grow into your thought process of it as a whole? Yeah, when it first started, it kind of reminded me of Lizzie McGuire, that show. It's like, I thought it was going to be, I guess it kind of is, like, it focuses on like what it must be like to be, because I'm a man, like what it must be like to be like a teenage girl right now. Like, grown up. Because it's telling a story like we haven't really been able to like relate to. So like certain circumstances they got going on in this movie, you're like, damn, like that's like, I guess kind of like Mean Girls did, where you're like, dude, like what, like people can be awful people, and like there's certain situations in this movie that like brings that.
But at first it seemed kind of Lizzie McGuire-ish, but yeah, and then there's moments like you see them trying to like, she's growing into a woman. She's like, she's becoming 13, right? Is when they do their
she's had her period for 7 years, Dad.
Oh wait, what was that?
She was like, I've had my period for 7 years. Yeah, she like just got, or she had her period for 7 months. Oh, 7 months.
Yeah, she's got her period for 7 months. There's a point in the movie where like she's trying to prove herself, and like there's this big like cliff thing, and she says to all the cool kids like, "I'll jump off," and then she does it. And everyone's like, "Dude, so badass!" And then you see like her pad float up with all the blood on it, and then instantly turns around. They're like, start making jokes on her. And you're just like, you feel for, you're like, oh my God, like that's like the worst thing that could happen.
That's super embarrassing.
It's
as
so
a young
embarrassing.
person.
Like you think back to like school and you're like, oh my gosh. Like,
they did a really good job at leading up to it, because there was a point in time where she was in the car. Adam Sandler, her dad, calls talking about, I need to get you these pads, blah, blah, blah. And then the sister was like, oh, Dad got you these pads. They're on your bed. Like, so everything kind of interconnected really well to lead up to that moment, even though it wasn't super noticeable. And also that like reservoir has been in so many Netflix things, hasn't it? It was inside of Stranger Things.
Right.
I believe it was a couple other movies as well too. So I don't know, whoever is contracting that reservoir is making the big bucks at Netflix, or maybe Netflix just owns it, I guess. And then
I could also see that they just bought that property.
Films there.
Yeah, like it was by a cliff.
Hebrew School. It was a show into kind of like Jewish culture.
Mm-hmm.
The diversity of it, where it's not necessarily like you have to be stereotypically Jewish or you have to be from Israel or whatever. Like it shows Hebrew School in a different light. Like Hebrew School definitely seems really wealthy. Maybe that's stereotypically. But a lot of the comedy, the physical comedy, a lot of the writing was really well done. I think Adam didn't necessarily shine, but he definitely complemented the entire thing very well.
Yeah, I agree. He had like little moments of Adam, but it was mainly focused on like his daughters.
Yeah.
His wife popped in here, here and there, but like, dude, I do have to say, what's her name? Sarah Sherman as Rabbi Rebecca was hilarious.
Hilarious.
She's so funny.
Super fucking hilarious.
Yeah, she killed it.
Comedy for days.
Yeah.
Just a little quickly. India Menzel was in it. She sang Frozen. That was pretty cool to kind of see her in real life. I feel like we don't see her a lot in things.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
I'm not watching what she's in.
And she did a great job as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly it was doing really well. I know there's been a lot of thumbnails and like headlines that say like, oh, it's Adam Sandler's best movie, or they're trying to go down the negative route and say like nepotism or whatever. But his daughters are like genuinely good actresses. Like it's not as if they're shitty. Like I can see if like they're not good. Like for example, like Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter. She's super good at acting, and that kind of makes sense because it's Johnny Depp. At the same point in time, you're going to say nepotism, even though they're really good. Like, if your dad is good, you don't say that in sports, right? Like, LeBron James' son is about to play with LeBron James. Like, you're not saying nepotism. He still has to quote unquote earn it, right?
Or like another one in the arts is like, if a musician had like a kid and they're super talented and was like, oh, let me bring my kid up on stage. Everyone's like, hell yeah. Like, and it just makes sense. Like they're around it all the time.
Yeah.
If they were on screen and they weren't good, then it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? But, I mean, a lot of this business, right, is like right place, right time, and they happen to be there because they're his kids. But they did a great job. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing them in other things.
Definitely. There is who is the second main character? Not Sunny, but the best friend.
Oh, Samantha
Lydia,
Samantha Lorraine, who plays Lydia, right?
Yeah. She was super good. Like the range of what I would consider like a seasoned veteran. I don't know that she's been in many things, but like she was able to play the victim. She was able to play the person who was being threatening. She was able to play kind of like the multiple different characters. I think that you don't necessarily see in what you would consider a supporting character. So whoever the writing and producing is really well. I think if you're into kind of this style of show, much like Never Have I Ever, where it focuses,
seen that, but okay.
It's very similar. Like, it takes the idea of, I guess, current youth genre into on the backdrop of like specific things. Like Never Have I Ever was based off of like an Indian family in America, and then this one is kind of more of like a Hebrew type situation on the backdrop of, you know, everyday kind of drama. So it's a good medium to kind of have good writing, good acting, and then kind of gently introduce you into a world you may not have been a part of. And I like that. It's interesting. It's funny.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you got from that too? Or what was your takeaway from that movie, aside from Adam Sandler is killing it in his late age?
Yeah. And then still rocking the basketball shorts.
Yeah, I know.
In his movie. Like, he can do whatever he wants now. It's great.
He can do anything, really. It's like,
but yeah, I think I ended up liking the movie a lot more than I thought I was going to like it based on the first 10 minutes. I got really invested in all the characters, and even the side characters, and even the side characters, like the aunties at all the party. Like, it's funny, like everyone's having a bar mitzvah, so they're like going to one every weekend or something. And then like
they
the
all came from
and like
Only Murders in the Building too. Like,
yeah. But everything was great. Like really funnier than I thought it was going to be. Luis Guzman was hilarious too, as the other dad. Like,
dude, so funny. We're getting a divorce.
Yeah, but the Hebrew school too was pretty cool because I don't really know much about that. Like I didn't know anyone who like went through that, like any like Hebrew school or anything. So it was cool to see that side, and also like the added pressure of like. At 13, like you're kind of already going through a lot, and then you gotta like you have this pressure of becoming an adult, you know, and it was really interesting.
I mean, a lot of cultures do that, and I think a lot of cultures do that in general, and in the past it's been a lot more prevalent, or it's become currently a lot more pageantry. But I think society in general lacks that kind of coming of age celebration and the handing off of responsibility, to which I think this show did really well. Like, you fucked up. It's your responsibility. You take care of it. You don't, I mean, how often are you seeing that actually play out in television to where they're actually giving you a message that you should be taking home potentially?
Without feeling too preachy.
Without feeling,
it fit.
They show not tell.
Yeah.
And for us, like, in honesty, in Hawaii, I don't know that I know any Jewish people that we grew up with, aside from like adjacently, right? Maybe their grandparents were Jewish or whatever. So for me, like seeing more of that, more educational, super interesting. I mean, that's how you grow the pot, right? Is you add to it subtly. And if you like that flavor, or if that flavor becomes more abundant, you can start adding more of it, right? And you have a taste for it. You're not just like, ooh, I've never tasted this before. And then you have that automatic fight or flight reaction. Yeah. So, I don't know. Good things coming from that. I know I had texted you and I was like, oh, I just watched this thing. And it transported me to a place that's similar but different. And that's The Portable Door on Amazon now.
Yeah, it's on right now, guys.
So I watched it and I was like super surprised by it. And then I told you to watch it. And so what was your initial thought when you're like, oh, this guy wants me to watch The Portable Door? I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, initially I thought it was like maybe because you kind of described it like it's got Harry Potter like magic and wonder, like that's what I took from like your text. But I also assumed it was maybe like Percy Jackson Lightning Thief, or like like a newer like just newer young YA novel type. I expected the main character to be like 13 or something, you know, like something like that. Just because like the magic and whatnot, and Harry Potter, because it starts where he's young too. But I went in without watching the trailer or anything. I just kind of just went in and started watching the movie, which was great because the main character of the film is figuring it out as well. Like, main character is not really knowing what's going on, and like things start slowly unveiling in the world he gets introduced to. Very much like Harry Potter and like the Magic Society. It's like that sort of thing. And I'm just there along with him, like, yeah, what's going on? Can you tell the main character what's going on so I can know what's going on? But in a good way, because you're figuring it out with him, and as he figures out, like, oh, you're doing the same thing. But very cool concept. And it's called the portable door, and eventually they get to that. He gets a portable door, which already is very cool. Like, I mean, I don't know anyone that's not obsessed with like teleportation, you know. And I mean, we know teleportation,
puppies.
right?
Duh.
Yeah, puppies.
Yeah.
So, very cool aspect. Like, it ends up being like a towel, and you say like knock knock, a door appears, you say where you want to go, and it just takes you there. And I'm like, sold. You know, that's awesome. Yeah. And then it unravels into like more mystery, and it's like a magic mystery type of movie. Really cool. Yeah.
Cast is great. Christoph Waltz is in it. Sam Neill from Jurassic Park is in it.
Both great. Great job.
Yeah, dude, just super great. And then there's some other individuals who I think are a lot more popular outside in Europe versus the US, but still also a Jim Henson Company production. Which is kind of amazing. I mean, when's the last time we saw something Jim Henson and B that wasn't puppets? Which I would have loved if there was puppets as well too. Who cares?
That must have been the makeup towards the end where they showed the.
Oh yes, some things that you would have to see if you watch it.
Yeah, so I don't want to ruin it. Like, watch it. But that must have been that. Yeah, when it said Jim Henson, I was actually pretty bummed.
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
nice.
Okay,
I haven't
cool.
seen Jim Henson in a long time. Yeah. Like, it brought back those like childhood memories of like getting pumped for like, you know, the puppets. The main character in this, I just realized now he was in Shadow and Bone. I don't know if you watched that.
Yes,
he was like that one pirate with the flying ship who like was royalty or whatnot.
Oh yeah,
very different character, because in that show he's like kind
super
of a pompous, like super confident dude, and then in this one he's like second guessing himself. He's tripping over his words. Great actor,
dude. I forgot what's his face from Crazy Rich Asians is in there. Chris Pang.
Oh, Chris Pang. He did a great job in this.
Yeah, he was also in that one movie that we just watched. Oh, Joyride, and freaking Eowyn from Lord of the Rings is in here. Miranda Otto.
Yeah,
like such a large cast for something that's relatively unknown. And I only say that because I haven't heard of the series The Portable Door, but it is based off of some books.
Yeah, it was like book 1 of 8. The Portable Door title.
Have you done any more looking into that? Have you even heard of that? Like, how have we not heard of it if it's such a big thing, I would say?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, granted, if it's a YA novel, maybe we're just out of the loop. Maybe this is like a series that kids are currently reading. Not sure. But, I mean, it's also 1 of 8, so it seems like the series is probably already done.
Yeah.
But very cool. Like, I hope they do more. It seemed like it was, what did it say, MGM Plus. So, yes.
Which
I didn't even know MGM had their own streaming service. Yeah, but maybe that's why it's on Amazon, because they're either trying to push it or they've just merged with Amazon. I don't know. Maybe Amazon owns it. But still really cool. I hope they do another one.
Yeah, to the point, or I guess to the behest of the viewership and things like that, like, it's hard for us to talk about it because having gone into it cold makes it so much more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. To be, like you talked about, discovering everything with the main character, to kind of have your own questions and not necessarily have them answered, but have them glanced upon to want more. If they made another one, I would watch it. It's almost as so. If, do you remember The Dark Crystal? Mm-hmm. The original Jim Henson production, mm-hmm. and then they redid it in I think in like 2019 or 2020.
Oh, that's right.
Slightly updated,
Netflix, right?
Yeah, and to me, that's kind of the vibe of the situation. Like when you, sort of kind of like because I've seen the original Dark Crystal, and then going into the new one, you're like, okay, what's going to change? What's this? What's that? Like, what's familiar? What's new? This portable door felt that way because you get elements that you're already familiar with, Harry Potter, or maybe you've seen these actors and you kind of know how they're going to act or whatever. But in just such a new lane, an adjacent lane, it just felt good. It felt new. It felt refreshing. Yeah. Almost like you're drinking a different brand of your favorite type of soda. If you drink soda.
Yeah, for beverage. Sure. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like what we were saying with like how One Piece was like similar to X-Men in that way where like, if you like the power aspect, you get it, but it brought to you in a different format. Yeah. Same thing with this. Like if you like Harry Potter, if you like that genre with like, it's kind of a family film. It's nothing too scary, nothing too, too adult, you know. But it's also like not, yeah. Really like, you know, there's mystery to it. It's fun. It opens up your imagination. It brings out that kid, like, oh, what if I had a portable door? Like, where would I go? Yeah, you know, sort of thing. Like, I love those sort of things where it like kind of opens up to questions like, you know, you want to talk about it more with your friends after watching the movie. Like, oh man, like just to expand more on the universe. It's kind of cool. It kind of, and in a way too, it's like a Britishy movie, right? Like, or Britishish. I guess it's all British movie. But it kind of reminded me of like Hitchhiker's Guide, but like for a young adult. You know, like it's kind of quirky. It's got weird characters, and then you slowly find out more about them as the movie goes along. Yeah. It's cool. I definitely recommend checking this out. Yeah. You might just fall in love with it.
You're going to look at staplers in a whole different manner after watching this show. That is for sure. And this leads us to essentially the latest and greatest of what we've been following, I think, very intently, which is Ahsoka. Yeah. And, you know, dramatic pause because it definitely deserves it. I think this episode, much like a lot of the critics are saying online, was fantastic. What was your, if you could name, I guess, obviously spoiler alert because we're trying to freaking talk about it, is what was the, I guess, scene or moments that stood out to you the most in this latest episode of Ahsoka?
With this portion of the episode, we're also Thomas has some notes. He was able to watch it too, and he wanted us to include it. On this one particular thing, I share maybe one of the same favorite parts. He mentioned the lightsaber battles and like the how did he put it? I'll give him the lightsaber battle and the emotional stakes. And that is something that really stood out. Like, I didn't expect like this many lightsaber battles in a Star Wars show, which is like lately it felt like you were just kind of like hoping they'd have one or two, but it feels like every episode they got them and they're good. This one had two lightsaber battles, like two separate ones. And something happens to one of the characters, but I think that part was like probably one of the highlights for me. Like, it's just always so cool when they do it right. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, there's tons of things and we'll get into it, but I think one of the things that I noticed straight off the bat was like robot hand-to-hand combat scene. I don't know that we've ever seen that in Star Wars.
Cool too. He came quick. Like that was the fastest robot battle I've ever seen. Like,
yeah. You just never, you don't think that they have that kind of, I mean, the assassin robots have some sort of like flexibility, dexterity, but, I've never seen it before. You could see that there was like intention and it wasn't just like two, you know, C-3PO or like R2-D2 like running around and using their technology. It was them actually physically combating, and you never really get to see that in the originals or any of the Star Wars for that matter. Not even in the animated series. And so to kind of see that, it made me feel like, oh wow, they're like really expanding subtly, I guess, in that sense, because it's just a robot battle. But to say that you've watched Star Wars, and for me, this is the first time I've ever like noticed a robot battle. Like, what the fuck? You know, droid battles? Like, what are we talking about?
No, for sure. Like every other Star Wars movie and I guess even Clone Wars stuff, it's like the robots either like a lot of them either look like they could be like just kicked over if they didn't have a gun, or they're like just sturdy and kind of wobble or roll towards you. Like these like move like humans. Like when it snuck up on the other robot and was like they were like basically boxing, I was like, holy fuck! Like these robots would wreck any human, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah. You got to be a Jedi or another robot to fight these things.
Yeah, I didn't. That's so surprising. Even from the opening scene, where what was the opening scene? Do you remember?
What was the opening scene?
The opening. Oh, okay. So this is what I was talking about. So the opening scene, right? Ahsoka steps out and she's like, "Oh man!" She like looks around, peers around, and then when it pans out and you see the robot's arm, like to me, like the robot was clearly standing in a way that Ahsoka could see. Like, you know what I mean? Do you remember that? Let me
go to it.
Yeah.
I gotta pull it up.
Yeah. It's just it was interesting because you would think like it's like behind a tree or some shit, but you just see its hand, and then you see like the aircraft, spacecraft, and then but then there's like nothing in front of it. So I'm like, oh, how did nobody see this clearly robot in the midst of trees? Like, I don't know. That's just one funny thing for me.
That's hilarious.
But the way that Sabine and Ahsoka were working together was something that...
Okay, I do remember. Yeah.
We haven't really seen in a bit, especially with a Mandalorian and a Jedi. The way that they took care of all of those droids handily was crazy. And then they decided to go for like a light jog to their destination right after that.
Yeah.
Cardio is on point for them. And then cut to... I think Hera and her son, we're going to go blah, blah, blah. And then we get to see Appa again. Carson is back in the X-Wing flying to whatever planet they were going to. Sorry, I don't remember the planet's name. It's just some of those moments were really fantastic. I have some notes, but they're kind of sporadic. It cuts to, again, Elspeth talking to Baylan about, oh, you've lost faith. And then... Baylan was like, lost that a long time ago. And I was thinking to myself, is Baylan going to get a freaking flashback episode? I need to know more about this character. Because towards the end, he talks to Ahsoka and Sabine and gets in their heads, much like a Sith would do. But he's definitely not a Sith. And the way that he has like this honest, genuine... want for things to be better, maybe based off his experiences or his traumas, but he's not necessarily on the dark side. He truly believes that what he's doing is the Jedi way, the right thing.
Yeah. And
if we don't get a flashback episode, I mean, obviously we can't have a spinoff, unless you recast. So I'm, hopefully that's the case. And then Baylan, they bring up the map in the following scenes, and Baylan goes, witchcraft. And I was thinking to myself, like, we're in a universe, like multiple different universes, and you can use the Force to move things. And like, just because this thing comes up and shows in a different things, like, oh, it's witchcraft. Like, that kind of made sense and didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then...
It also was technology based.
Yeah, so I like that was kind of interesting.
He's just so ignorant. He's like, "What is this blasphemy?
What is this witchcraft?" And like we don't even really get to go into the Dark Sisters. No, what are they called?
Which one?
What is her group of people called? Elspeth's group of people.
Oh, I don't know.
I want to say Twisted Sister, but I think that's a band. But
yeah, I think it sounds right on both. It sounds like a band, and you're right. But I don't...
Yeah. And, any Hoosers, they get to that point, Ahsoka and Sabine show up. Or Ahsoka and Sabine are running to it, right? And then Baylan's apprentice is like, hey, you're not going nowhere, right? And they start batting again. That's super sick. You see Ahsoka get into, like... samurai stance, and she's fighting with this Inquisitor, and then Ahsoka like handily beats him or her, and then the apprentice looks over and is like shocked, right? And I'm like, did you think that person was gonna beat Ahsoka? Like, it just like didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and so I guess like Thomas wrote down a note there. What was his point? I'm just gonna read his thing that he sent here.
Yeah.
He said, Marok, what is a reincarnated Inquisitors?
Oh yeah.
Evidence
weird.
being that when he dies, he dissipates like the monsters in Jedi Fallen Order on Dathomir. So I haven't played the game. Yeah. I know Thomas says he wants to go more into that when he's able to come back on, but I thought that was really interesting. I guess if we played the game, we would that would be a bigger like, oh shit moment. Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty big oh shit moment though, because I did not expect that to happen. I thought he was about to take his helmet off and was going to be somebody or something.
Yeah, you could make an entire army out of that kind of guy, ghost smoke guy.
Yeah, so like that's insane, and they're that hard to beat. Like,
yeah. Bro. And they're that like, yeah, that was super interesting. It does raise, I think, a lot more what is going to come next, because if you don't, if a Night Sister is able to do that with those things, then you could have an army. Why would you need an army of whatever when you can just make a bunch of those, assumedly?
Yeah.
So, and then Balin talks about destroying to create, as he's kind of speaking to Ahsoka and Sabine. Ahsoka and Balin's battle was very interesting, because you could it was very reminiscent of Obi-Wan's and Anakin's. A lot less to emotional situation, a lot less to lose, I guess, because they were so close. But you could see Ahsoka getting upset. You could see her questioning things. You could see how Balin was twisting kind of her emotions to a degree based off his words. And then even more so when you see Shin come back, and she's like, Sabine, is she dead? And then she moves her with her force and throws her against the thing, which you've never seen her do deliberately to like hurt something.
Dude, yeah, it looked like she broke her neck. Like, she slammed her against that wall.
And then Balin took advantage of that because she picked up the map, but it burnt her. But other people picked it up. Yeah. And so witchcraft
when
is
it's
real.
Plugged in, it's dangerous to touch.
Yes.
She doesn't wear the gloves.
Electrocution is real.
Yeah, rubber gloves. Yeah.
You have to wear the right gloves. You have to do all those things.
Which I guess it was too strong to force pull it out. I don't know.
I guess.
That thing was super strong too. The way they destroyed it
was hard.
It took like 20 seconds of lightsabers. Yeah. It's like, and then it finally was like blows up. Yeah, crazy.
And so, since then, we get to see, Ahsoka gets kicked off the cliff. Shin comes back. Balin comes back. And then you see Sabine's there, and she's like willing to shoot this thing, the map, so that nobody can do it. And then it harkens back to when Ahsoka and Sabine were talking. Mm-hmm. You want to get Ezra back, but are you willing to do the right thing regardless of the outcome, etc.? Can I trust you? And in this moment, we're watching. She's like,
yes, you can.
I know, which obviously we can't, because to me, when I was watching that, I understand that if she destroys it, we don't have a series. We don't have 4 more episodes. But in my head, I'm like, Sabine, like, what are you doing? And it doesn't help that you're a woman getting emotional and making the emotional choice, right? You don't, and yes, we see other characters in the Star Wars realm and in other things that are both male and female making the emotional choice. But explicitly, when it's pointed out to you and you understand the weight of everything and you still chose to do this, was frustrating. Obviously, that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it is one of those like it's like you don't even know if this person's alive, and it's one person you're trying to bring back.
Yeah.
And it's not even a sure thing. But you're willing to risk like everyone not only on one planet, but like multiple planets.
It further signifies to the differentiation and the oppositeness of Ahsoka and Sabine, right? Regardless of gender, is that Ahsoka's a Jedi and Sabine isn't, in terms of the typical can control your emotions or is not looking for emotions, and vice versa. Whereas in Star Wars, or I should say, Clone Wars, Ahsoka was the one who was a little bit more emotional and Anakin wasn't. He was the one that was a little bit more practical. So the roles have reversed, right? And then we harken back to Hera and Carson getting there and literally not taking a single shot on the huge hyperdrive situation before it goes into hyperspace.
What was their plan?
I have
They're
no
like,
clue,
stop
but
it. They're like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
and then they just kept flying closer. Like, were they just ram it? Like,
not one torpedo. Like, I guess because the circle was gonna go through them, but like, you didn't, as a person who knows, because Hera was like, we need to stop it, or the robot guy was like, you need to keep it from leaving, and yet there was no shots fired, no torpedo, no nothing.
Yeah, like, I mean, granted, we don't know how they're gonna stop, but it would have been nice for one line of dialogue, like, we just got to get to the blank. And then we'd be like, okay, they got to get to the blank, and that's how they're going to stop it. But it was like, for all we knew, they just kept driving close to it, and then it drives past them, and they get hit by the wind. Oh, fuck. And then two of them die. Whatever. Like, right? Like,
so,
X-Wing runs to the other X-Wing, and then they're like, fuck. You didn't do it.
Like, no.
You're like, what was your plan, though? I wish you kind of included us.
Plan, it was quite crazy. I didn't know where they were going with that. I kind of like, okay, so what now? Because I guess they're gonna be like, oh, well, Sabine will then have to go through an arc of change and growth in order to be able to take over the ship and maybe help stop them or whatever. Because they're the ones who have the map, they're the ones who know the location, et cetera, et cetera. And then we jump to Ahsoka waking up in, I guess, the Force zone. And she's hearing her old master's voice, and she turns around, and it looks like potential. I mean, I know that's Hayden Christensen, but it kind of looked like a CG Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, I kind of did. Huh? Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, because I don't know if it's like, because it was like him from a very specific moment in time.
Yes.
So it could have been like when he was her master at the time.
Master, yeah.
And when she was a lot younger. That's like the, the face he took on. But
in the Return of the Jedi, the OG Return of the Jedi, I guess not the OG, but the remastered Return of the Jedi, they put in Anakin Skywalker as Hayden Christensen during that time. So maybe they're trying to stick with continuity in that situation. But what were your... So there's a lot of like implications about what Ahsoka's doing moving forward, but what did you get from that moment? What were you excited to see potentially happen moving forward?
No, I don't even know. Like, my first thing was like, oh, this looks like the Rainbow Bridge in Thor. Then for a second, I'm like, is she like dead? And I'm trying to remember if he's dead. Is he dead or is he still alive? He's still alive at this point? He's dead.
No, he's dead now. Yeah,
this is way past.
Yeah, the Empire's gone. Thrawn is gone. Wait, is he dead?
When is this?
He's got to be dead. Because Thrawn was Thrawn alive during Darth Sidious?
That was all after, right? Thrawn and all that. Because I didn't watch Rebels and stuff, so.
Well, Rebels is post Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
And during Rebels, technically Darth Vader is still alive. So I think this is after Return of the Jedi? Because in Mandalorian, Luke was still alive. Yeah. And so was Ahsoka.
Yeah. So it's either just like a realm where you meet, where you're knocked out, you can meet your other Jedi buddies. don't know. I thought for a second like she was like in limbo or something.
Yeah. Because we've never seen anybody go to like this force space. We've only seen like force ghosts outside of that situation.
Yeah. It's funny if like she pops up. He's like, "Oh, I was about to call actually. I was right about to show up and be a first."
Yeah.
If he's still, I don't know. I'm so bad that people are probably listening. Like, you fucking idiot, dude. Know the timeline. When it comes to Star Wars, I just kind of I enjoy it more than like nitpick it, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I'm just there for the ride. But I'll take the criticism. I should probably know more than I do, but still enjoy it. I don't know what to expect moving forward. Other than maybe more Hayden Christensen. I don't know how he's gonna play though.
From I guess what I've seen and what I can kind of address is it does feel like that Ahsoka is going through a similar arc that Hayden Christensen did or Anakin did. It's very, I don't want to say it's parallel, but it's very similar. Like you question certain things, right? And then it seems like Ahsoka now is on a similar pathway. She's not necessarily questioning things, but there are things to be questioned. Especially because she woke up in this zone, and I think it's going to pertain to how her interactions with Sabine are going to be moving forward. Conversely, Sabine will also have to kind of grow as a character in order to fit into this role that she's choosing to take on. And ultimately, she will have to make a sacrifice, it seems like. And it sounds like Ahsoka will have to change. Whether or not they find Ezra, I don't think that's really important. Whether or not Hera continues to be this Han Solo like character, and or Jason turns out to be a Force user, which are all very parallel things to like Phantom Menace and Star Wars as a whole. I don't know. I would like to not see characters die. At the same point in time, we know moving forward we haven't seen Ahsoka in Return of the Jedi or any of those originals. We also don't see her in any of the sequels, to which maybe they're trying to reset that whole situation. But it does kind of seem like all of that is leaning towards that direction, that Obi-Wan type direction. I need to teach this next person. This next person needs to grow. And in order for that person to grow, I need to lead the situation. But that's all speculation, to be honest. I don't really know what's going to happen, just like you talked about. I'm just excited to continue to be on this Ahsoka journey moving forward.
One question. Did Sabine use like a mini force push? When it did. She did the thing, and then what's her name? Like turned her head.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she turned her head to brace it and then was like, "Oh yeah, you got nothing," or if it was like a little nudge and she felt just like a little.
To be honest, I think the latter. I think there was enough for her to say, "There's not enough."
Oh, okay.
And then she used her projectiles to kind of knock it out of her hand, but then she could just force bring back her lightsaber. So there's lots of moments where you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like it got knocked out of her hand. She could just go, okay, and then like pick it up. But I think at that moment, it was the surprise of it all. It was the surprise of, what do I need to do to get to save the thing that I'm trying to save, versus, take Sabine out, because she definitely wants to take Sabine out. There's like this rivalry that I think is going to flourish a little bit more, but seems very misunderstood at the very moment. And Baylan in general too, I think there's a lot more there. The mystery of that character and the weight of that character just needs to be unfolded. With Ahsoka moving forward, I just think there needs to be more of that kind of unveiling, unless you're just going to keep that character mysterious, which is something they could definitely do. But I'm just excited to see how it concludes, whether or not they're going to make a second season, or how they're going to lead into like a bigger maybe mashup or all-star team up type situation. If I guess in terms of 4, because I think we're going to only have 8 episodes, so there's only 4 more episodes. If you, knowing what you know now, in the next 4 episodes, what do you want to see before it concludes?
Well, I want to see Thrawn.
Yep.
And I want to see him be terrifying. Like, it'd suck if they just kind of hint at him and then you're like, oh, if you watch Rebels, you know, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of lame, yeah.
I kind of want them to be like, here he is, and this is why it sucks for him to be around. So I want that. And I feel like Shin's probably going to kill Balin. I feel like. Like, I know it's not a traditional, like, Sith and apprentice sort of situation.
Yeah.
But now that Balin's like, you have my word, like, no harm will come to you. And then Shin came and was like, I want to harm her. And she's like, hey, stop it. Like, let her go. Like she's a dog. Stop it. Yeah. I promised her. And Shin's like, fuck you. I didn't promise, you know? And even just like, she's cuffed already. And like, Shin, like, she kept pushing her for no goddamn reason. Like, hey, walk. So I feel like there might be a moment later where Balin keeps trying to check Shin. And then she's going to be like, you know what? Fuck you. Maybe like stab in the back. And then have this moment where she goes after Sabine again. And then they have another battle or something. But I don't know.
When Sabine's better at fighting. They make Sabine look real not good. Like, you know how kind of badass Sabine is when she's younger in Rebels. But the way they're making her look now, just, in my opinion, just weak. Like, I understand there's a lot of trauma, right? She lost her family. She lost Ezra. She was lost. She, you know, was a Padawan, now not a Padawan. She's not as close to the people she cared about as much anymore. And yet she's making these decisions based off of her emotions and kind of her feelings, which I understand carries a story and her feelings in that moment as a character. But in terms of how can she redeem herself, I think she's piled so much evidence against it that it's going to be, the expectation for her to redeem herself is much higher now. Like, I need to see her be above and beyond for me to be like, okay, Sabine's back.
Yeah.
Unless, which would be interesting in this instance, hypothetically, if Ahsoka or Sabine or one of these characters actually became the bad guy versus, you know, Balin and Shin are out for some reason, Thrawn is out for some reason, and then Ahsoka and or Sabine or one of these main characters that we're supposed to be focusing on then turns into the dark side.
That'd be interesting.
It would be new. It would be refreshing, I think. I mean, I don't know what you would do moving forward just because there's so much established intellectual property already and storylines, whether or not it's from the expanded universe and or what we have currently. But I trust Dave Filoni.
For sure.
There's... with what he's done with Star Wars now, like, he should have been doing that from the beginning. I don't understand why he didn't make the sequels, or have his hand in the prequels.
Yeah, that would have been.
I just, what he's been doing now, just, it doesn't make sense for anybody else to be doing it aside from him or George Lucas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to watch this show.
Yeah,
every week. Like, the quality is great, action's great, story's great, actors are great. Like, everything, I'm there for the ride for sure. Yeah. I'm interested to see if Sabine's going towards, like, just being a worse person to get to possibly get Ezra, or if she just kind of fucked up like Star-Lord did with Thanos. Just like, you know, when they had him locked down and he's like, oh, and he's like punching him, and you're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Bro,
like,
what the fuck are you doing?
It's a really selfish decision when there's more at stake than your feelings.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe she just fucked up, or she's kind of like, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully she's good. She just becomes more badass. But I mean, I still like her, but it was like that whole thing, like, with like, oh, you might be gonna get Ezra or whatever. It's like, that had to be something you already weighed and made a decision on. So like, why are you fighting so hard if you were gonna just let that be the case anyway? Like, that was kind of frustrating. Yeah, but I get it. Like you said, it's carry on the story.
Yeah, I just some of the optics of it kind of are the opposite of, like, not the narrative, but like, so we're seeing a lot currently in entertainment as a whole. We're seeing a lot more female-driven story plots, characters, actresses, etc., etc. And now versus previously, they're doing a lot more showing than telling in terms of providing evidence for this character's characterness, right? Whether or not wherever on the spectrum of like good v evil we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how they're portraying Sabine is counterintuitive to all of that now. For me. Like I just don't, I understand it's a part of like the story plot and the character driving and being able to create these moments where change can happen. But in seeing it, that was my first reaction. So I know that things are going to change. I understand that it's not my ultimate feeling of the situation. It was just my first feeling of the situation. And I'm looking forward to that changing because Dave Filoni, this cast, these writers, everybody who's involved in this project has proven that not only can you tilt Star Wars in a better direction, but you can do it without hurting the IP and bringing homage to everything that fans love about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I trust him. That's probably what he wanted. He wanted us to be disappointed in her for now, because I mean, people make emotional decisions all the time.
Yeah.
You know? So like, it's like a human thing. So
yeah,
it makes sense, and they're not. It's not always the right decision. So that's just part of it. Maybe she'll get a redemption later. But it's got me intrigued. It's got me going like, no, what?
Yeah.
Why are you doing?
If
Like,
it makes you feel,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
definitely in the right
right?
direction.
If you're just like, yeah, it's gonna happen, cool, lightsaber, good guy wins, yes, then I guess that's cool too. But it's just not as cool, not as good as story.
Definitely.
So. Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to more.
Well, you're going to get more because episode 5 will be coming out next week. And we will be back next week with Tom Bomb, hopefully back in the trio, the tripod, the triangle, the trifecta. And we'll be giving you... Might be the week after.
Yeah.
So maybe sometime later or sooner, hopefully sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of that, thanks for tuning in. We'll keep bringing you content that you love to hear us talk about and or like to hear talked about in general. But we hope you have a great day or night or time that you're having now. And we will try to simultaneously say our catchphrase at the end of this. Thanks
for
sticking it with us.
The Joy Schtick Show.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow, Joy Schtick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, thank you, peace out, and make it a great rest of your week.